Bonjour tout le monde, aujourd'hui on fait quelque chose d'un peu spécial parce qu'on va faire un tournage pour une application qui va être seulement en Suède, malheureusement. Alors cette application c'est pour apprendre à ces gens-là à bouger un peu plus et à faire en sorte qu'ils soient un peu plus actifs dans leur vie de tous les jours. Malheureusement ça va pas être en France pour vous, mais en Suède, si vous allez en Suède, vous pourrez télécharger l'app. Je sais pas si ça va être une application qui est payante ou pas. Je suis avec notre super modèle Erika qui est juste là, mais juste après on va faire une petite interview d'Erika. Erika est de Suède et du Japon, donc on va lui poser des questions un peu pour savoir comment elle a grandi, comment elle a évolué et comment les gens voient justement ce métissage. Donc pour l'instant on fait notre petit tournage, on va faire ce qu'il faut pour que les gens puissent enfin bouger. Voilà, on y va et interview juste après. A plus. On est donc avec Erika, qui est un modèle ici à Tokyo. Ça fait environ 10 ans que je connais Erika et j'ai suivi son parcours un peu sportif et comment elle a évolué. Mais aujourd'hui, on va poser des questions à Erika puisque Erika, bien entendu, est métisse. Donc, elle est métisse japonaise et suédoise. Malheureusement, Erika ne parle pas français, donc je vais lui poser des questions en français, mais elle répondra en anglais et j'espère que ça va vous plaire. Bref, Erika.
Hello, I'm Erika and I am half Swedish, half Japanese. I moved to Japan around 10 years ago, and before then I was living in Sweden, Stockholm. And right now I work in fitness, in both personal training and social media most of the time.
Maintenant, j'aimerais poser une question à Erika, une question qui est très importante. Ma question pour Erika, c'est justement comment elle a évolué en tant que métisse au Japon et aussi également en Suède. C'est comment elle a vécu ça. Est-ce qu'elle a été victime peut-être de racisme en Suède ou victime de racisme au Japon, mais ce qu'on ne sait pas, c'est comment les gens la perçoivent en tant que métisse. Parce que moi, tel que je la vois maintenant, je vois qu'elle est métissée, mais peut-être qu'en Suède, ils ont pensé que c'était une asiatique, peut-être même autre chose, mais on va lui poser la question.
Well, in Sweden, yeah, because I'm Asian, everyone would say I'm Chinese, and especially growing up in school, people would be like ching chong, and we had like these little songs about Chinese kids, like very racist. It's better nowadays. When I was like, I don't know, 6 years old, people would kind of say ching chong or say I'm Chinese, blah blah blah.
Just a question, when did you think stop?
I don't know.
Comment?
I don't know exactly because I've been in Japan since I was an adult. So okay. I never like.
So up to your 18 years old.
No, but way? No, because even when I was a teenager, like people would not really bully like that overall.
Okay.
So it's more the kids. So I don't know. Maybe kids nowadays still do it. I just haven't heard like I don't know that many small Asian kids. The one I know is my youngest sister, but she's also like she hasn't really mentioned it. So I don't think that's a thing.
Right.
But who knows? I'm sure it's still going on, but maybe not to the extent that it is back in the days.
And how about when you were traveling Japan? People thought you were Gakurijin or something else?
So that's like the thing. When I was here traveling, later there's so many more like foreigners in Japan. So it's more, people don't really look twice as much as back in the days. But back in the days, every time I was here, people like, even being on the beach or like being on the street, people would ask for pictures because I was, even if I, probably for non-Japanese people, I look very Japanese. But for Japanese people, I look very foreign. And I was also very tall and like...
That's my question.
Yeah.
Were you tall from young?
I was tall. Okay. So that's also different. They were like, oh my gosh, she's so tall.
Just a minute. Parce qu'il faut rappeler que Erika est vraiment grande. Je pense qu'elle fait 1m16 ou 77. C'est vraiment grand pour les Japonais. Donc voilà. So yeah, they were saying you were very tall. I was explaining that you're very tall.
Yeah, I caught that. But yeah, so I was very tall and also foreign. And I have like different, like, I don't know, different, like small face, long legs, which Japanese people are obsessed about.
That's a regular comment, right?
Yeah,
so
you have a small head. Yeah, you have a small head. You have such long. Yeah, 頭ちっちゃいね。足長いね。So that was.
Mais attention, ça c'est un très bon commentaire. It's a very good comment when you have a small face here in Japan. Yeah. When they say that, usually very positive.
That's positive. Yeah. So I got that long legs and small head. So yeah, I mean, so it was people would stare a lot here. And lately, because there's so like much more foreigners coming into Japan, they don't really care too much. But of course, I still get like I kind of gave up on trying to get into like the super Japanese community because they would always see me as a foreigner. So even trying to get Japanese friends only, it would be pretty hard because it's not that they're mean or anything. It's just that like if I have a different opinion about something, they would just say, "Oh, that's because you're a foreigner." Yeah, gaikokujin. And I was like, "No, that's because I'm me."
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so that's so I kind of just gave up on that, and I kind of have a mixed group of friends nowadays.
But this is interesting because I remember back in the days when there were like a big scandal and the girl were mixed, such as Becky, you know Becky, like when she was mecha kawaii and she was like doing like people were saying, "Oh, sugoi, hafu mixed hafu wa mecha kawaii na." She did one mistake and it was not even her fault.
Really? I didn't know that.
No, yeah, because she went with a married guy, but she didn't know it. He was explaining that she was single.
I thought she cheated on her.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh, punch."
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same with Naomi. What's the name? The tennis player?
Yeah. No, I don't remember. But
the black
almost #1 tennis player. in Japan.
The Blasian tennis player. So she was like, I think she was saying that herself too. She was so not accepted into like as a Japanese person until she was a super successful tennis player. And it was like Japanese people, they take her in and be like, "She's Japanese, she's one of us." We're like, but up until she was successful, nobody wanted her in like as part of their culture.
Right.
So that
and then that's an interesting thing. We are like kind of changing the topic, but when she talked about mental health and she had problem and thing, like and they talk about it openly compared to Japanese, they keep everything because they're strong.
Exactly.
Because the fact that people think that Japanese people not showing their emotion is weakness or something, but it's actually because they think they're strong. Whether in Europe, when you share your emotion and you talk about emotional intelligence, is sharing your emotion and your vulnerability.
Yeah,
in Japan,
and then you are strong. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's always interesting when I see a Netflix TV show because nowadays, like people are like in America, they're just talking about being vulnerable and intelligent, and when you are here, if you have a sign of anger or a sign of weakness, then people think, "Oh, weak."
That's true.
Yeah.
You have to be content and like just being open in general. You should that's also why it's hard. Same thing like going into that topic and how I made friends. I felt it was like because I connect people in a way when I open up to them and when I feel that they open up to me.
Yeah.
But I never felt that connection with like fully Japanese, like born and raised in Japan Japanese. That's also why it was hard for me to feel that connection because they connected in different ways than I was brought up and learned.
Right. I have a question. When people are seeing you at the company or something, do they try to speak you in English or they know that?
It's very mixed. For example, in Shibuya, let's say now that there's a lot of tourists, they would see me as maybe a foreigner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But if I'm maybe like on the less touristic area, they would speak Japanese. But I've also seen that the company staff or whatever staff still speak Japanese to foreigners. So I don't know what's going on in their head. Maybe also for many people, I am obviously a half.
Because I'm trying to remember how it was, 10 years ago when we met, and like I remember there was still like this type of ice, like fully Japanese.
Right.
But I was wondering because for me, like I was not at this. I didn't have that knowledge about Japan, and I was like, you're Japanese, they're Japanese, so they should not have ice. But I remember it was like kind of
when they asked me in English, I was like answering in Japanese. They're like, huh?
Yeah. When you arrived at 19 years old in Japan, did you feel that you had to change a lot of behavior and your pattern and your routine when you came?
Even in Sweden, I was kind of very held back shy. So I was still in my developed stage when I came here. So it was like I did not really back on my like extrovertism or anything. But of course, like mannerisms and how to behave and like being like overly polite. I think I'm now maybe overthinking because I feel like I have to make up even more than Japanese people by showing that I am polite because of foreign.
I feel this.
Yeah. So they don't like. I don't want the label. Oh, she's rude because foreign. Like I want them to see that I am actually a very polite person.
But that is weird that we have the same type of behavior and the same way of thinking. Because for me, like you still are Japanese. What can I say? You don't have to apologize for being what you are. But for me, I have to apologize for being what I am. Because I'm thinking like I'm French. I'm not like a 100% Japanese speaker, and I have kind of the image of a bad boy, kind of in Japan. So I have to adapt my behavior for being like super friendly and smiling and easygoing, stuff like that. But also respecting the Japanese culture by being polite and respecting the protocol more than any type of.
Exactly. Because they would just because they would look at you, like even in the gym, they would stare at me.
Right.
Because I would be more than anyone else in the gym, the one doing the mistake. But obviously, like, I'm lucky because I'm privileged because I am half white, half Asian, and in Japan, half white and Asian are seen more beautiful or respectful or in that way.
there is
So that's
this
like the
aura
like
where.
beauty standard.
Talking about that, I kind of have a question, but it's not like clear in my head, which is, you know, the fact that you're tall, small face, but also like you're model. Do you feel there is a difference between, you know, a small Japanese girl, what they would call kawaii, and like you? Because I know that I've seen like some girls having a first impression and they say, oh, kirei, not kawaii.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like, do you feel that with Japanese men, like when they are trying to talk to you, do you feel they're like kind of a little bit scared or impressed compared to a Japanese girl? So many guys are like super straightforward with a small Japanese girl, like, oh, kawaii, I want to protect. But with you, it's kind of like you're overpassing everyone already.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also, I have a very specific type of...
What would be this type of man, if you would describe it?
Actually, I do get like a lot of, I don't know, put it without sounding weird. I do get a lot of attention from all types of men, but it's not like...
You mean there is no kind of like a stereotype of guy that like...
Not really. I've
Okay.
seen all type of people coming up talk, but I don't know like if they're more like fetishizing. Can I say that? Fetishizing the fact that I'm
because that happened with, you know,
Yeah.
like all type of girls that are
Yeah.
coming to Japan and they're...
Exactly. So the fact that I maybe either that I'm a model or that I'm foreign or that I'm tall, rather than just like, and of course like they would never come up to me and try to like be a protective man, because I don't think that I give the aura of the
No, but
protective.
let me tell you, you're too tall for that. You're too tall for that.
Even taller men, like I would not.
No,
I'm not that tall.
Oh yeah, that's tall for in Japan,
Yeah.
man. Like
Yeah, I guess.
compared
maybe.
to other girls, like the only girls I know that are that tall are either mixed girls, and like it's once every probably 200 girls that I
Yeah.
meet that is over 170.
Yes, but yeah, but of course, like it's like we talked, the Japanese culture of and liking, thinking like older men and like all types of ages in men, they look at girls and like obsess about them because they're so cute, and they kind of the girls dress up in like cute stuff. They want to be children.
I think we all know about it, and it's not like nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
This is coming from the kawaii, and it's just like, you know, even you have 30, 40 years old women being like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, and you're like, "What?" But I know because
Yeah.
I like, you know, when I was working at my gym,
Uh-huh.
I've seen this type of woman trying to do that, and like in my head I'm like, what the fuck are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, it's like-
But men really love that.
Yeah, they do.
They really love that. But I think also there is something, they are trying to be as cute as when they were years old, and the men they have, they like that back in the days.
Yeah.
And like maybe, you know, in Japan, they kind of, once they have the first kid, becoming the mama, and they're trying to be seductive the same way that they were in the 70s, and it's not working because they are 30 or 40 years old.
Yeah.
But for some people, because you have fetish for guy cuisine, but you also have fetish.
Yeah.
And for work fitness, do you think that a lot of girls can identify?
Yeah, so for example on social media, most of my followers I would think is Japanese females, and I do get a lot of comment messages saying like, how do I look like you, or what do I train, or what do you eat during the day, like body wise, because they want to have like look like.
Okay.
So that's also.
What do you feel they want? Do you feel they want muscle, or do you feel they want tall and skinny?
They want curves.
They want
which,
they want
which
curves.
is really interesting, because back in the days, like even just 5 years ago, girls wanted to post, but
Right?
the
And
fitness industry in Japan has
we talked about it so many times also.
finally evolved into girls saying like, oh, hips and waist, like I want that, but before it was like skinny as.
So now, because I remember it was as skinny as possible, and
Yeah.
like girls had obsession with,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Yeah.
why do you want boobs when you don't have like anything else?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so not balanced. And I noticed it's because of course, because of guys.
Yeah.
But those type of magazines they are selling, it's always like a girl with big doing this,
Yeah.
and it's like,
I mean, I'm sure. I think like still for men are a thing, for Japanese men, because I still like whatever I see in the convenience stores, these magazines, there's still only boobs. There's no ass. But girls, I think because we look, or like in Japan, they really try to chase the American, like or the westernized
right.
standards, where Kim Kardashian came out with the curves, and all the girls are like, okay, some curves are more popular. And then you see like skin tight dresses, and even how fashion has evolved. Because before it was like maybe gyaru and like this clothing that would look good on skinny bodies. Still, it's hard for them to let go of the being skinny. And if you have a butt, you're usually not skinny. So I still do get comments from like, how do I get a small butt? And I was like, but I don't try to build a community of girls wanting small butt. Like it's not about big butt, about like shape.
wait, you're saying that some girls say I want small butt.
Yeah, they're like, how do I make my butt? But I'm not even promoting that. Why are you asking me?
Right. what do you think about feminism in Japan nowadays? Because when we met, it was nothing at all.
Yeah.
And like I didn't follow up because I didn't talk a lot of things, sorry. So I don't know if it evolved, if people are talking about it in the female community.
I mean, first of all, the word feminist, I don't see it anymore, became to a little bit of an extreme.
Majority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So feminism now is most like women wanting the same rights as men have, which I think is kind of should like that should be normal. But I do think like people, for example, I've been working with some female femtech brand that try to promote a lot of more like female tech, like trying to talk openly about periods and like female things that men don't still talk
Right,
about.
because I've seen that. I've seen that like women's talking about period and women's talking about sex pleasure also.
Exactly.
Like I feel that's great.
They're really trying, like the government, or I don't know the government, but many brands here in Japan are trying to at least push it forward, and I think it's taken a little step forward. But still today, for example, simple as that, most men in Japan don't like barely anything what a period is. Like, okay, you bleed once a month,
I mean, overall sexual education.
Yeah, sexual education is still behind, which I actually made another podcast with a friend the other day. We were talking about the exact same thing. Yeah,
you're right,
like how men still today don't know, like how we know a lot about how a male body functions, but men don't really know how a female body functions unless it's a plus for them, like sexually.
I will have so many things to talk about because, you know, from the sexual education, I mean, I guess you had a different one in Sweden and I had a different one in France. And when I came, I was surprised about them. The biggest case was HPV. HPV was like so big and like, you know, it's popular that men here, like, because, okay, we can defend Japan as much as we want, but so many men and women are saying that Japanese men are not cheap.
Oh, they are.
right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of taboo to talk about it, but I feel that, you know, in France, if you talk to men on the street, you say, oh, do you cheat on your woman? They will say, oh yeah, I did back in the day, but now I'm not doing maybe. But in Japan, they will say.
Then I have a complete opposite thought about that, because here in interviews, the men say proudly yes, which makes foreigners think that Japanese men a lot. But I don't think honestly that Japanese people cheat more than, or that much more at least, than other countries.
I don't think so, but I do think, this is just my personal, I do think that once a male is cheating in Western countries or Europe, he's cheating with maybe one woman or two women, and he will get involved in like a secret affair relationship, romantic relationship, that whether male in Japan will get a younger girl, 20 years old, love hotel, bim bam boom, and then another one. But there is also this fine line with hostess here, because so many people say, oh, hostess is not having a relationship, but you know, like it's just a matter of money.
But also many people here, they don't see any like things as cheating as long as there's emotion. So like they don't count it as cheating because that's just like an exchange of money and sex, whereas with no emotion attached. But if you go on dates, then that's more, or like if you go on an actual date sex, then cheating.
Whether in Western countries, like
that's
if you
like, no matter what, you
everything.
can't kiss, you can't, like there's nothing like that. So some girls agree with
I
think most girls don't, but there's also this small part where so like, I mean, he can do whatever he wants.
Of course, that's a different culture, and some people in France will not stand that, but a lot of girls don't want, and they just want a housewife and like having a kid, and the guy is working, and they just have the benefit of not working a wife. And the thing is, I feel that that's the reason why they let, because he's paying for the house. He's paying for the house, for the grocery, for the kid to have a good education and everything, and like they don't have to make any effort.
It's an exchange.
It's an exchange.
It's another exchange.
Right. I know that it's so hard for us. Even me now, it's been 10 years, almost 11 years I'm in Japan, and I would not accept things. I need someone that have motivation, ambition, and wanting to do things, wanting to create things, not someone that is staying at home in my house. Because, you know,
then you can pay someone for it.
I can pay someone for it. Have you met a lot of French people?
In Japan, there's a lot of French people.
No, but like kind of, okay, let's say about people that you don't know first, I mean, that you've met quickly and talk with, and you're gonna talk about me because you know me, right? Start with the best and with the worst.
Well, I mean, I do, this is for every French, like first, I didn't like to go through what is called stereotypes, but it is true that French people complain a lot.
Okay.
But so is like European. Since I'm European, I don't really notice complaining because I complain a lot too, and I have a lot of British friends, and they also complain a lot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this common ground. So yeah, you guys complain a lot. Yeah.
How is it in Sweden? Do people complain? I don't think people are complaining.
People don't really complain. We do a lot of demos though, riot.
Right.
But we don't really. In Sweden, our culture is to be something neutral, as
Oh,
back in
so
long
you
back
live it
in
like
history.
Switzerland.
Yeah, like we're like, okay, nothing too much, nothing too little. In Swedish, we have a word that doesn't exist in any other country. It's lagom. Not too much, not too little. Something.
But talking about that, do
Yeah.
you think that there is a very big cultural difference between Sweden and Japan in terms of that only?
No, because that's actually where Sweden and Japan have common ground.
Okay.
Yeah, which is also
That makes
very
sense.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
because
like,
French people and Japanese people are like completely
yeah,
diagonal.
Japanese people, like French people are so loud.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Sweden,
yeah.
like we have, even when my Swedish friends were here, they were kind of adjusting so well because like they try to fit in and not
Right.
being too much, but not too little. So they were
Right.
just in between. So we like to fit in and not cost too much of us, which same as Japan, but kind of in a different way.
But how did you feel when you met him?
That's a handsome man. Okay. I mean, I didn't think anything.
Did you think I was complaining a lot?
Not really.
Really?
Yeah, but I was so young too, so I
But
kind
I
of.
but I think I was complaining more before than now. Because nowadays I'm just like I'm so old that I'm just like
Can't do
whatever.
Whatever.
You know,
It's in the
like
past. I mean, if anyone complains, I don't think I've ever think, oh, they complain too much. But it's just like, okay, he's French, so he complains. But I do believe it's not
Right,
like
right.
I don't think they're over exaggerating.
Well, to be fair, I do think that back in the day I was kind of, you know, you have different phase in Japan. You have the first year where you're just like, oh, everything is cool and everything. You have the second year where you're like, huh.
Yeah.
It's still kind of discovery. And there is one year, I don't know if it's the third or the fourth year, where you're like, everyone hates me.
Yeah.
And, you know? That's probably the time.
When I met you.
Yeah. And I was just like, I cannot have anything in life kind of thing.
Nobody likes me
But
here.
at the same time, I was kind of in a period where I don't remember how old I was, maybe 31, 32, and I kind of knew that I wanted to stay in Japan, and I was like kind of more or less like, okay, things are gonna become serious here, not like Canada where I was before, because Canada was just like, oh, you enjoy and you leave, or you, if you want to stay, it's gonna be like another year where you're gonna enjoy. And I had to find a career, or I had to find something that is allow me to not only to survive.
Right.
And I think most of people that are coming here with a working holiday visa, they are trying to survive.
Yeah.
And like if they have a visa, oh lucky, and then
Yeah.
I'm trying to survive again.
Yeah.
And like for me, I was just in that situation whether I'm like, okay, I'm 30 or 31, 32 years old. I need to get my shit together and like having like a serious business where if you know something is happening in my life, I'm ready to do something. So I feel it's very weird what I'm saying. I feel I was complaining about other, but actually I was complaining about myself.
Yeah, you
I
take
was-
it out of others.
Yeah.
sometimes. But that's normal.
Blaming
for
the
everyone.
responsibility on
Exactly.
someone else. Yeah. But
Yeah.
actually I was just like thinking, and that's why at one point I understood
Yeah.
it was me that need to work on myself and working on my interaction with others and how to make things work
Yeah.
wherever I'm going. And I feel I didn't have that in Japan because, you know, we evolved first
Yeah.
with CrossFit,
Yeah.
with Gaikokujin.
Yeah.
And
There's the
everything.
community.
Yeah, and we were not ready to face Japanese and be ready in any situation in Japan. Malheureusement, on n'a pas le temps de finir. Ici, vous le voyez pas, mais en fait, c'est un studio qu'on a autour. Ce studio est loué jusqu'à 22h exactement. Il est 22h30, on est super en retard. Donc, si vous voulez un épisode 2, marquez-le en commentaire en dessous là. I hope, Erika, we're gonna do an episode 2, but they have to comment. if they want that. Et on se voit bientôt. Je vous dis au revoir. Et des bisous. À bientôt sur Ici Caillou. Bye bye.